Gosh, guys, this is going to be such an interesting video because I want to talk about a couple of things. I want to talk about the Calgary Flames cap position and why they might have issues. And here's the thing, though. I want to talk about why I still am positive about their situation going forward, even with this information. Again, analytical data is not everything in hockey, okay? So you got to watch the game. We don't know how stuff's going to turn out, but there's some really interesting stuff that I wanted to go over, and there's some really interesting stuff about Craig Conroy and his comments on a young player and why I'm really excited about that and why I'm kind of going back and forth on what the best thing for the Calgary Flames to actually do. But guys, welcome back to Pixel Plus Hockey. If you can make sure to hit that subscribe button, it would be so greatly appreciated. And thank you so much to those that are already supporting me. I'm almost close to 1,000 subscribers, guys, so thank you so much for all of your support. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm the biggest fan of talking about the cap. I think the cap can be kind of boring, but at the end of the day, it is an important thing to focus on. And when they talked about analytical values in contracts, like which essentially dumb it down, like which players just have the best contracts and which players have the worst contracts, almost like how their contracts and they are performing. Like, you look at Nick Suzuki for the Montreal Canadiens. He has an unbelievable contract. Like, it's just so good. The Calgary Flames do have cap space, but if you look at the analytical model from The Athletic, they actually have a little bit of an issue here, and we're going to be going over this with some comments. Quote, the Calgary Flames may have more than $15 million in cap space, but their entire salary cap situation may not be in as good shape as you'd expect. The cap space has come due to a general manager, Craig Conroy, shipping several veterans out of town in exchange for draft picks and prospects, and while it's certainly nice to have right now, their cap situation could become a problem once they are ready to truly compete for a Stanley Cup. Now, essentially, what this means is just because the Calgary Flames have a lot of cap space, which is true, 15 million is a lot, the cap is going up, like they're not in a terrible position. They do have a couple of not great contracts, cough, cough, Jonathan Huberdeau. It is so weird how Huberdeau just completely fell off when he came to Calgary, and honestly, it's really, really unfortunate. But here we have another really interesting quote from this article. Recently, Dom Lazinski of The Athletic put out a ranking of the worst 10 contracts in the NHL. Unsurprisingly, Jonathan Huberdeau was not only on the list, but ranked in the top spot. The 32-year-old, of course, still has 6 seasons remaining on his contract that carries a cap hit of $10.5 million, close quote. Yeah, so again, contracts like that bog your team down. It's just the reality. Now, I don't think the Calgary Flames rebuild is going to be 6 years. Like, can you imagine if they get Gavin McKenna next year? If they can manage to get that, that is going to accelerate the Calgary Flames rebuild. Even if they get a top 5 pick, that will push their rebuild ahead by 1, maybe 2 years. So let's say a classic rebuild is 5 years. I know some teams just never end up rebuilding ever, Buffalo Sabres. But usually about a 5-year plan is what you're looking for to rebuild your center position, your defense, your goaltending, and your wing position, restock your draft capital, and then start to compete, and then give away your draft capital to compete for a Stanley Cup. It's looking like Huberdeau's contract will probably still be around. That is going to be an issue. There is no doubt about that. And this is a quote that I personally really agree with in this article. Quote, having that bad of a contract on the books can be detrimental to a team's success, though thankfully it hasn't had the worst impact of the Flames just yet, given they are at the retooling stage. In the coming years, however, it could haunt them, and it's a big part of the reason as to why they are ranked 23rd out of 32 teams in contract efficiency, close quote. Now, to be fair, though, they aren't the worst team, right? They're within the bottom 10, but they aren't the worst. My thing is that I would be okay when they are ready to compete by trying my best to get rid of the Huberdeau contract and attaching a sweetener to that. Because let's say they're ready to compete in 3 years, 4 years. Let's say they get lucky and they draft McKenna or something like that. and they're ready to compete about that time, I would be obsessively be trying to move that Huberdeau contract. I would be willing to attach sweeteners. I would be not willing to do anything, but I would be willing to do a lot. Can you imagine if they have McKenna, Zane Parekh, whatever players, Wolf, and all of these guys priming out, and they're being bogged down by Jonathan Huberdeau's contract? That would be really, really unfortunate. And if you look at the top 10 most contract efficient teams, they're generally very good, smart thinking organizations. Now, shifting gears away from that, I wanted to talk about some really interesting quotes from GM Craig Conroy and stuff that I love. I'm of two minds of this, but we're going to get right into it. Quote, just watching Zane all year, just seeing what he can do offensively and the way he kind of plays, even when he came up at the end of the season, to watch him in practice, he just does things differently than most guys. Conroy added, I don't want to put too much pressure on him, but he is going to have a great opportunity to make the team next year, close quote. I love this. Here's the thing. I don't like a team purposefully tanking. I don't like a losing culture around a team. I get it. I'm not saying the Flames should trade draft picks and be, just missing the playoffs. I understand you're in the mushy middle. I get it. I get all the arguments. You don't want that. But you also don't want a complete loser culture either. A loser culture can kill an organization. Look at the Buffalo Sabres. I understand they're an outlier. I understand they're in the rare. Usually teams come out of rebuilds. I get that. That's absolutely true. But I would be really afraid of just a losing culture and just losing all the time. I really don't think that's good. And I also don't think that that's good for young players like Zane Parekh. I see him being a 24-minute-a-night defenseman, two-way defenseman that probably is going to score 55, 60 points in his prime, something about there. Like, he's going to be pretty good, I think. So we will have to keep an eye on that. Guys, I'm going to leave this video here. If you could make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it, guys. And make sure to have a great day. Goodbye, guys.